What is up, guys? It's your boy Rick Kakis, and today, or I should say yesterday, the all-new Vex Caliber exotic Glaive was released into Destiny 2 Season of Defiance via a secret exotic mission. A lot of people got it and are now thinking, well, I want to use it. So in this video, we're going to be showcasing an absolutely cracked build that is designed around the all-new Vex Caliber, so you can get the most out of this brand new exotic weapon. And so, let's get started. Now, first things first, obviously, you need to have this thing to put the build together, so if you don't yet, please check out my guide on how to get it, and I've also put out a guide on how to get the exotic catalyst for this thing, which I do have. It's not necessary, but obviously it's going to make this weapon significantly more powerful. In any event, let's take a look at what exactly the Vex Caliber does. Now, intrinsically, it has the perk M1R Distribution Matrix, fires a spread, equipped with a quick draining shield, blocking damage with your shield gradually bestows void overshields to yourself and nearby allies. It also has another unique trait here, Perpetual Loophole, deal additional melee damage while protected by an overshield. Defeating targets with melee final blows while the overshield is active will refresh it. And of course, again, I have the catalyst here, immovable refit, so dealing ranged damage grants increased weapon energy while you're stationary with your shield raised. So if I'm blocking and shooting, I get more shield energy. So, keeping all of that in mind, this is actually a pretty powerful weapon no matter what build or what class you're using it on, especially if you execute the right sequence of moves to get the most out of this weapon's potential. Now, what the heck do I mean by that? Well, looking at this piece of gameplay, here's how you need to begin an engagement. So if you're starting from no energy at all, the first thing you need to do is shoot an enemy with the ranged attack. That is going to give you a chunk of shield energy. Then, as you get closer to an enemy, you need to block first, and you need to block for long enough because there is a slight delay between when you start blocking and when you start to get the overshield that you actually see the overshield appear on your health bar. Once you see that little sliver of blue letting you know that the overshield is there, then you melee an enemy. That is going to completely refresh that overshield, so even though you had one sliver, the tiniest chunk of overshield, as soon as you kill that enemy with your melee, as you can see, boom, you get a maxed out overshield, and at that point forward, every single melee kill you get will completely refresh this overshield back to max, as long as you don't lose it, as long as it's not stripped away from a powerful enemy attack. So again, that sequence is how you want to start chaining this overshield over and over again. But keeping all of that in mind, this build is going to exploit the fact that you have this constant overshield like crazy, and that's because we are going to be using the Sentinel Titan. We are firstly going to be using the Sentinel Shield as our super, then we've got a Towering Barricade, Shield Throw, however, Shield Bash would work just fine, and Scatter Grenades. Then for our aspects, firstly we have Controlled Demolition to make Volatile better, and I want those 2 fragment slots, and lastly, importantly, we have Offensive Bulwark. So this says, while you have an overshield or are inside Ward of Dawn, your grenade charges significantly faster, you have increased melee range and damage, and your melee final blows extend the duration of your overshield, and you get an additional Sentinel Shield throw. That works perfectly with what we're doing with the Vex Caliber. It's creating and maintaining its own overshield, and Offensive Bulwark is going to give you all those benefits as long as that overshield is up. And to get even more benefits, let's take a look at our fragments. First of all, you have Echo of Exchange. Melee final blows grant grenade energy. Yes, it works with the base melees of the Vex Caliber Glaive. So every time you're smacking someone with the Vex Caliber, you're getting a huge chunk of grenade energy back, almost like you're getting a demolitionist trigger. After that, we have Echo of Instability. What do we do with all of our grenades? How about they give us volatile rounds, which is going to make the ranged attacks of the Vex Caliber absolutely crank enemies. Then we have Echo of Leeching, so now those melee final blows that again count for the Vex Caliber will start health regeneration, why not? And lastly, Echo of Starvation, so picking up a Void Breach or an Orb of Power will grant Devour, so every time we kill an enemy, enemy with Devour, we're going to completely heal back to 100% health. Now looking at our seasonal artifact, you really want to have Volatile Flow to get volatile rounds even easier. Then you want to have Bricks from Beyond to generate heavy ammo extremely easy. And then lastly, you want Void Weapon Channeling to increase the damage of your Void Weapons even further. And we're pairing all of this with the featured exotic, the Syntheseps, which says increased melee lunge range and improved melee and super damage when you're surrounded. But how much is it improved? Well guys, this might blow your mind. So, a normal Vex Caliber melee is going to be identical to all other Glaive basic melees, doing 19,069 damage on a red bar. Then, with Biotic Enhancements active, that goes up to 57,000 damage. That is a 300% increase, just by being surrounded by, I think it's just 2 enemies, which happens quite a lot. However, remember, we also get melee damage bonuses for having an Overshield. Well, how does that work? So, if you have the 19,000 damage normally, if you get an Overshield and then get a melee, that goes up to 22, almost 23,000 damage, a 20% damage increase. And that does stack with Biotic Enhancements, so you have both an Overshield and Biotic Enhancements from the Syntheseps. You do 360% more damage with 68,000 damage. Yeah, you can pump up your melee numbers a ton with this combo. Now keep in mind there is another exotic Titan armor piece, I think it's the Worm God Caresses, that can increase melee damage as well, so consider using those too. But regardless, let's go over the mods we're running. So first of all, 2 firepower mods. As I said, we get our grenades back quite a bit, so this is quite useful. Then a focusing strike mod. After that, we have 2 harmonic siphons, more orb of power production for just getting void kills, and a heavy ammo finder. After that, you really do want on your chest piece a melee damage resistance that doesn't just reduce actual melee damages, it's any enemies in a close proximity, which, as you can imagine with a Glaive, happens all the time. Then we have 2 void weapon surges to improve our damage even more so with void weapons, and a harmonic scavenger, again because we're void. Then we have 2 time dilation mods, so our armor charges last longer and we always have that increased void weapon damage. And then a bomber mod, why not? And lastly, let's go over weapons, because they really are the last necessary thing in your build, because we're mainly just running around with the Vex Caliber swanging and banging this whole time. But importantly, I'm actually using the Pardon Our Dust. Yes, 2 specials. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because we're meleeing so many enemies, and that's not using up ammo. In fact, your Vex Caliber can have literally 0 ammo and still do a great job at killing guys. So, having a blinding grenade launcher is going to let you shoot into a group of enemies so that you can start meleeing, start the Overshield chain without taking damage because they're blinded. However, using a good primary is totally an option here. And then for our heavy, I'm just using the Behringer's Memory here, a good void grenade launcher. You want something void, and I really want something with autoloading holster. This was totally fine, but hey, something like the Royal Entry, whatever your best void heavy is, feel free to use that. You're going to be getting a ton of ammo for it, remember, because of Bricks from Beyond. And so guys, that is the build, and overall it is fantastic. You have a ton of increases to your melee damage, so your Vex Caliber is capable of slaying out. You can kill yellow bars sometimes in a single hit. In addition to that, your survivability, thanks to the ways to gain overshields and also the things that will keep your overshield full over and over again, are fantastic. Remember, having an overshield in PvE means that you also have a 50% damage reduction. Yes, overshields will reduce incoming damage by 50%. It's an update that Bungie made, I think, last season, so you are really hard to kill as long as you are chaining that overshield. The one place this build can falter, I will admit, is against single target like bosses. If there's no nearby enemies to gain biotic enhancements, you're not going to do a ton of damage, and you also need to be killing enemies to keep up your overshield, so that is a bit of an issue, but that's where where the nearly infinite heavy ammo comes to. You just shoot your rocket launcher or your grenade launcher or whatever at the boss and you should be fine. Guys, that is it for the video. Hope you enjoyed and found this informative. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That is linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.